Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for, I almost said December. I don't know why I almost said December. January 7th, 2025. And we have some stuff to talk about tonight, everybody. But first I want to address my loss in the Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show because I stink at that game. I'm really, really, really bad at Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show, and people may think that I'm just joking around. I'm not actually joking around. I do get very upset when I lose, and NFL topics, when I lose those, definitely get me upset because I think that I am, a good, knowledgeable NFL fan, but I just don't care about the Pro Bowl. I don't care about it at all. We talked about it before the break. Like the NFL is doing this whole thing. They're going to have a game show. They're going to have like a punt contest. Honestly, I'm not going to watch any of it. The first year that they did the whole flag football thing and they did the dodgeball game and they did the skills competitions, I was all for it. I thought it was awesome that year, but it was only awesome that year. And so I'm not sure why the NFL's, well, I am sure. They just want the money. But the Pro Bowl is nothing anymore. I used to love the Pro Bowl. I thought the Pro Bowl was the best thing in the world when I was a kid because you have all the best players in the NFL on one team. How cool is that? And the games are actually competitive, and they did it in Hawaii, and I was really into it as a kid. But over time, I have just not been into the Pro Bowl whatsoever, and I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry about it. I don't know who's into the Pro Bowl. If you're on the chat right now and you want to watch the Pro Bowl, please let me know because I want to know that one person out there that's going to watch the Pro Bowl. Dominic says should have the players just play Madden at this point. I kind of agree with that. Jack says that Sean Taylor hit in the Pro Bowl will live rent-free in my mind forever. Yes, I agree with that as well. That hit against I can't remember which kicker it was, but he just lit him up. So, yeah, there's my Pro Bowl thoughts. I just don't know why they're doing it anymore. And the players, sure, they probably get some extra money, but it's just not good. It's just not good. There's nothing to watch there. So, I guess I'll move on from it, and we will get to the latest. If you're just getting off work and you're unsure of what's happened today with the Padres situation, there was a statement released by Matt Seidler, who is one of Peter Seidler's brothers, and so we'll get into that a little bit. I know I read a lot of it earlier, but there are just a few parts of the statement that I would like to read because I think I want to be fair on this whole thing. I really do want to be able, because I can't just sit here and criticize news organizations for not being fair and balanced. And that wasn't a shot. That's just a thing. I have to be fair if I'm going to accuse other organizations of not being fair. So I think reading from the statement, presenting those things is the best way to go about it. But I was thinking about this on the drive home last night. And for everyone involved in this lawsuit, for Shield Seidler and for the Seidler brothers and everybody who this touches and the tentacles where it reaches, I just feel bad for everyone. I really do. Because unfortunately, sometimes stuff like this does happen where someone passes away and there is some sort of, for lack of a better term, power control struggle. And it happens not just with the Padres, or it happens everywhere. And it's very sad because to me, Peter was, he was a guy who loved people and he was a guy who really did genuinely care. And so when it's all said and done, it to me at least, it's not my favorite thing to have all of this out there. And again, it's on both sides. Both sides are dealing with grief in this whole thing. And it's not easy. My grandpa passed away earlier this year. I told everybody about it. And thankfully, there were no family arguments. The only thing that there were family arguments over were like mementos that meant something to them as a kid. And I have been in a situation, and it wasn't directly my family, but I have been privy and not part of it, but close enough to it to feel the sadness that comes along with something like this. And I just hope that things can get resolved so that people can go forward and live their life. And it's very tough to do that while all of this is going on for them. But again, each side has their own sort of sadness that they're dealing with. And so in the bigger picture of everything, it's unfortunate that this is so public too, because a lot of things that happen in the family, they don't become public, and they're pretty private about things. And it's just the deal of what they were presented, which is Peter Seidler was, Padres control person. And so this is why it's dealt with in the public domain. But I wanted to start with that because I want people to maybe, instead of picking a side right now as you're listening to this, just maybe think about both sides involved and how they're all going through something very similar, and everybody processes grief in a different way. And so I just would like to have people think about both sides. Don't just swear off one side or the other. Just think about both sides in regards to dealing with the death of Peter Seidler within their family. And like I said, I was close enough to a situation, and I saw how much this situation tore apart a family, because there, in the case that I'm talking about, there was no will. It was kind of a sudden thing, and so that's when things got a little crazy, because the will usually helps to not cause fights within the family, but this situation, it did, and it tore the family apart, and they're still torn apart over it. And it's just very unfortunate, because I don't want to see anyone have to deal with stuff like this while they're trying to mourn the loss of their brother and of their husband. So I just think we should take a step back sometimes and think about it that way. And everybody's going to have their own opinion anyway, but just make sure you have all the facts. That's really what I want to say. And so here, Matt Seidler had a statement out that he sent. And so I'm just going to read a few things for you. Again, for anyone getting in their car, not really hearing what has happened today. So Matt Seidler says, Shields' claims against Bob and me are entirely untrue, and we will vigorously defend ourselves against them. That said, the false accusations in her complaint will not distract the Padres organization from continuing its great momentum on and off the field in San Diego. And this goes on later in the Matt Seidler statement. Peter left the designation of the next permanent control person in the hands of the trustee of his trust, rather than naming a specific individual. This approach is entirely consistent with Peter's style. With a long track record as a successful investor, he believed that important decisions are best made by those who had earned trust by working hard and, most importantly, always doing right by people. In setting up his family trust and estate plans, Peter named 3 of his siblings to serve as his successor trustees in this order. First Bob, then me, and then our oldest brother, John. Peter's designation of Bob and me was based primarily on the decades the two of us spent working closely with him on complex and sensitive business matters at the investment business he co-founded. Peter also implicitly trusted John based on their long, close relationship and John's demonstrated business acumen. While I did not seek, this is Matt Seidler's statement, while I did not seek the heavy responsibility of serving as Peter's trustee or designating the Padres' permanent control person, I must honor Peter's legacy by exercising that responsibility with the thoughtfulness and judgment that Peter always displayed. Unfortunately, She'll filed this lawsuit because, despite Peter's contrary instructions, she wants control of the San Diego Padres franchise. She may be disappointed that Peter did not designate her as the trustee of his trust, name her as the Padres control person, and or give her the right to approve the control person. Had Peter intended any of these things, he could have easily made that intention clear in the governing documents, which he amended for other matters several times before and after he became control person in 2020. Now, I'm skipping around a little bit because this is a long statement, but I want to read this last part because I know that people are very concerned about the notion that the Padres the notion that the Padres may end up relocating. So Matt Seidler wrote, she'll also inexplicably suggests in her complaint that relocating the team is under consideration. This is completely false. It is also laughable. The San Diego fans are the best in baseball, and Petco Park is the best in baseball best ballpark in Major League Baseball. In bold and underline. To clarify the record without ambiguity, got it right this time. To clarify the record without ambiguity, relocating the Padres from San Diego has never been discussed or contemplated. So again, I'm sure this statement is out there for people to read, and we've had a couple statements here in the last couple days, so we're starting to get more information. But again, we don't know. We don't know what side is telling the truth. So that's why I personally am not going to take a side. I explained yesterday that, I've jumped to conclusions on stories before, and you know what? It wasn't good for me. It didn't make me look very smart. So I'm actually going to take things that I've done in the past and learn from them. Finally, I never learned from them. But with the things that are being presented, all of this, to me at least, will be proven in a court of law because there is paperwork, there isn't paperwork. There are documents is the word I was looking for. There are documents or there aren't documents showing who is being named the Padres control person. So it's going to be decided down the road in a court of law, and we will find out then what was happening and who is actually the control person. And again, the whole situation is unfortunate. I already talked about the Peter Seidler aspect and mourning Peter Seidler. But as a fan, this is a really unfortunate situation, and it's a huge bummer. I don't think any of these people involved wanted to take away from the upcoming season and wanted to. To me, that was not their intention because the San Diego Padres are a baseball team when it comes down to it, and so the baseball team is the most important thing for this organization. And AJ Preller may be doing his job and still doing his job, but there may be certain uncertainties that he has in front of him, and he has to wait for things to happen. So I just don't really understand, or not that I don't understand. I just think that, unfortunately, this is something that is going to be, I guess, overshadowing for a little bit, for as long as it takes. And again, it's a bummer. That's the only word I can really think of, because this is not what we wanted to talk about coming back from the holiday break. This is not what 97.3 The Fan, and Padres fans wanted to have to process and digest. So we can only go forward from here. We can only go forward, and we can only take news as it comes. And I'm seeing on the chat, let's see. I'm seeing on the chat, Brian, no one on this station will openly side with no one on this station is going to side with anyone. I understand. But why would I side with someone when I don't know the full facts? Cody says that a little bit later. Why would anyone be taking sides at all? if you want to think that if you want to think that I'm being told to say certain things, you can think that, but I'm not. I'm telling you right now, 100% fact. No one on this station has been told that. So go ahead, think what you want. And I understand that sometimes things like this create frayed nerves and things are said, things blah, 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 blah. I am stumbling over everything because I really do want to present an accurate picture of what's happening here, because this is a very, very important thing to the San Diego Padres, to Padres fans, and to San Diego. So I don't want to go too far, because I don't want to feel like I don't want to regret something that I said later down the road. Again, I've done that, been there, done that, doesn't feel good. So there you go. All right, when we get back, we'll talk about Roki Sasaki real quick, and then we'll get into some other stuff. This is the Skraby Show. You're listening to Matt Skraby on 97.3 The Fan.
Carla
Back here on the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. You can watch on YouTube if you would like. Please just go to YouTube and search 97.3 The Fan. You'll see the broadcast right at the top of the page. You can also go to Facebook, 97.3 The Fan, Twitch, 97.3 The Fan, and then X at 97.3 The Fan SD. So we're just talking about the statement from Matt Seidler and just reading some of the comments on the chat. I can't help but give in, and I can't help but comment on some of the comments on the chat. But I'm seeing, cases closed out there. And cases are not closed. I like to pay attention to the crime news. So I read about a lot of different trials and things like that, and you just never know what's going to happen. And we don't know what's happening on the inside. So that is what I'll stop with on that whole thing. I just urge and caution people to believe everything that they see out there, because you just never know. And I've learned that the hard way many, many, many times. Now, the other tentacles that we talked about would be whether or not players in free agency or Roki Sasaki would want to choose the Padres as a destination because of what's happening with the organization, the things that are going on. And it is a factor. I don't know how much of a factor it'll be for free agents, but again, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but what we've heard about Roki Sasaki, he's a quiet guy. He doesn't like dealing with a lot of media and things of that nature. And I think he would be shielded and protected from some of this because he really has nothing to do with any of this if he does choose the Padres. So I would hope that they know that, the Joel Wolf and Roki Sasaki, because I do think that San Diego is a good place for Roki Sasaki. I do think that San Diego would embrace Roki Sasaki, and we saw Ha-Seong Kim come over from Korea and get acclimated to the American way of life and playing baseball for Major League Baseball team. Like, it's not that easy. And Ha-Seong Kim has nothing but good things to say about San Diego, his teammates, people around San Diego. So in the end, I do think that Roki Sasaki would think that San Diego is a good fit. Now, how much does he care about the long term? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much he cares about that. And Tony made a great point earlier today when we were talking about Roki Sasaki and all of this. He said, I said, Tony made a great point today. Oh, here it is. He's on the rookie pay scale. So it's not like Roki Sasaki is looking for the Yamamoto deal of $325 million. It's not like he can get that because he's not going to get that. And so maybe to him, he gets his rookie contract, he gets his rookie pay scale, and then he has some endorsements on top of it. I don't know how much of an issue it would be for Roki Sasaki, knowing that he's going to get paid what he is going to get paid, and that he can settle into his major league career in a city that's going to accept him. And I hope, and I'm sure that this is what they told him in their pitches. This is, I was reading earlier about some of the pitches and the cold weather cities put up temperatures in the summer so that he didn't see the cold weather in the April and the May and all that stuff. So everybody has their own angle. Every team has their own sort of way to woo Roki Sasaki. And honestly, really, like, I think it would be very, I think it would be incredibly stressful to be in Roki Sasaki's position. I would not like to be the focal point of making a decision that's going to change a lot of lives. Not only is it changing Roki Sasaki's life, but it's going to be changing the organization. It's going to be doing a lot of things. I don't envy him in that way. I envy the money he's going to make one day, but I do not envy him in the way of being the guy who has to decide where he's going to go after all these teams are telling him that they want him and blah, blah, blah. Seems like a lot of pressure to me. Free agents outside of Roki Sasaki, short-term free agents, I think will be fine. I don't think that the short-term free agents are going to find this to be an issue. I don't know, but I personally don't feel that because, again, if they're going to come to San Diego and play, that means that they are happy with the contract that they were offered. And if you're on a, say, 2-year deal, option for 3, something like that, you're not totally invested for the long term. So if you did, as a player, have any questions as to the future of things, you could go into it knowing that, hey, let's do this. We have a 27, 28-year-old player who's going to sign a contract for the first time in free agency. Like, I don't know that someone like that would not want to take a 3-year deal with an option for 4 because, they can reevaluate after 3 years. 2-year deal with an option for 3. They can evaluate in a couple years. So I don't know that it's really going to affect the team in that way. And I asked Tony earlier, like, how does it affect the team on the surface level, like the baseball team? Does stuff like this affect the team? And he said, no, not really. Like, in the day-to-day life of a baseball player, you're just doing what you're doing every single day. You're going to work, you're playing your game, and you're doing everything that you need to do in the meantime. And so I think that it can be scary, and I kind of made it scary in the first segment a little bit, but it doesn't have to be scary. Again, I have to put myself in my place, and I have to say that I need to be patient. I need to be patient, and I need to wait things out. And if you don't like me for that, then that's fine. I don't really care. At this point, at least, because people tell me I'm annoying all the time, and I take it as a compliment, everyone. Other than that, with the Padres stuff, that's really what's going on today. And the other stuff that we talked about earlier, Yankees are rumored to be right now out on Luis Arraez as a trade partner or a trade whatever. I say whatever because I can't think of the word right now. But Luis Arraez apparently not seen as a fit for the Yankees right this moment. Doesn't mean that they're not going to make a trade later. Doesn't mean that, it's not going. Luis Arraez is not going to be traded. But as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But, we're hearing his name a lot more recently in trade rumors and trade speculation than we had with Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease was dominating the conversation throughout the early part of December. Just dominating the conversation. Everybody was trading Dylan Cease, myself included. I didn't want to trade Dylan Cease, but I felt like that was their best option to build back up some of what they lost when they acquired Dylan Cease and Luis Arraez and Tanner Scott and all those guys and Jason Adam. And I think that was the fastest, easiest way to build back up. But Dylan Cease's name has kind of gone out of the whole thing. And so we haven't really heard about him lately. And same with Luis Arraez, but the opposite. We were hearing his name more and more. So, I'm not sure what we're going to be looking at opening day, but one thing I do know is that they will have a team. And one thing I do know is that they're going to field a team. And one thing I do know is that I think everyone's going to expect them to win this year, and I think that they expect themselves to win this year. Again, I said this yesterday. They already have the major pieces under control. They got Manny, they got Fernando, they got Yu Darvish, they got major pieces under control. And so that part of everything makes it a lot easier for AJ Preller to do his work when he's not looking for the make it or break it player for this team. He's not looking for a superstar. He is looking for someone who is really he's looking for someone who's going to fit in and provide a certain role. And I think that's easier for AJ Preller than it would be to be like, oh man, we don't have a power hitter, or we don't have this guy. and then we have to go out and get him, and we're going to overpay for him because we need him so bad. That's not the situation the Padres are in. They already have their guys under contract. So, again, I think that A.J. Preller has a lot of work in front of him, and I know that we're going to hear some news here in the next month or so. I mean, spring training is going to be coming up here in a month and a half, so we'll have to hear some news. But there's a lot to do, and I'm going to stay patient. I am not going to do what I did last year and panic before spring training because things can still take shape. I'm just basically repeating that on the air over and over and over and over because I got to keep telling myself that. Because it's not easy not to panic. When I saw Corbin Burnes was signed to the Diamondbacks, it's like, really? Another player is going to be a part of the National League West that's going to face the Padres that's very good. And there's just a lot that, today the Giants signed Justin Verlander to a 1-year, $15 million deal. Now, is Justin Verlander going to be good? I don't know. He wasn't good last year. I think he was injured last year. He's 42 years old. How much does he have left in that arm? I don't know. But if Justin Verlander is half of what Justin Verlander can be, that's a great addition to the Giants. And the NL West just keeps getting more and more difficult. And depending on which side you are, that's either very exciting for you that the NL West is going to be very difficult, or that's very depressing for you that the NL West is going to be very difficult. And I'm right in the middle. Because I don't like that the NL West is getting so good. I mean, the Dodgers have always been there, and it was Dodgers-Padres. Now the Diamondbacks are putting themselves in it, and the Giants are putting themselves in it. All of that. Diesel says, don't forget about Clutchson Merrill. I can't say that word. Clutchson Merrill. We're going to talk about him, I think, tomorrow. And the expectations for Jackson Merrill have to be realistic this year. And do I think that he's going to repeat what he did last year? My immediate thought is yes, he's going to. But that's going to be difficult. That's going to be really difficult to repeat what he did last year because no one saw it coming. And obviously we all love it, and obviously we all can see that he's a great player. But he's got to do it back to back. He's got to do it again. And he's going to be a very important piece on this team because they don't have to look for a center fielder right now because they have Jackson Merrill. So Jackson Merrill has to be what they're expecting him to be. And that's a lot of pressure, but I think Jackson Merrill's the right guy for it. I really do. The temperament we saw all year long, he's a team guy, and he will do whatever is best for the team, and he will do it with a smile on his face. So I think Jackson Merrill is someone who can handle the pressure. And I think Jackson Merrill is someone who is confident in himself enough that he's going to be able to go out there and put up similar numbers this year. I really hope so because Jackson Merrill was really fun to watch last year, and I would hope for it to happen again this year. All right, let's go to break. When we get back, I have Charvarius Ward and what he said about it's very sad. And what he said about, being in California, he may even have to leave the 49ers because he has so much PTSD over his infant daughter dying earlier or passing away last year. So we'll talk about that. You'll hear from him, and I'll say a few things about that when we get back on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Ben and Woods.
Muted. I'm really sorry, everyone. There we go. I just unmuted. I'm sorry. You just missed this whole thing if you're on YouTube about Jackson Merrill being named number 2 by MLB Network and how pumped up I was because Don. Okay, you know what? We're gonna do it one more time, just because Don is that great. We're gonna listen to it for all the YouTube people.
High drive, deep right field. Merrill, madness. Walk off.
There you go, Don. That's what you missed, everybody. I'm sorry for muting you. But I was told by Diesel on the YouTube chat that I need to go back and listen to this Scottish accent caller that called into Ben and Woods. And so I was listening, and we came to this part. I came to this part in the call, and here it is.
But other than that, my New Year's was good, except for my son, who's stopped listening to me. He's been shut up in his room. He's decided that I'm not cool enough. I say, son, what you doing? He's shut up. He says, be quiet, Dad. I'm a Skrabinator now. I don't have to listen to you. And he's got the shirt that says Skrabinator. I say, what's a Skrabinator? But he will not talk to me. So I bet he can help me with this Skrabinator phenomenon. I don't need this Skrabinator. I just want my son back. Don't even indoctrinated.
So there you go. I just want to play a short clip of that. That was on Ben and Woods yesterday morning. But hey, Skrabinators, we have made it. We have made it apparently to Scotland. This is amazing. That was hilarious. And, you know, as a Skrabinator, you know, I don't want kids to stop listening to their parents. So if you're listening and you're a Skrabinator, kid Skrabinator, listen to your parents, okay? Listen to your parents, but still be a Skrabinator. I thought that was hilarious, and I thank Diesel for making me aware of the Scottish accent Skrabinator mention, because I thought that was very cool. Skrabinators are taking over the world, everybody. You better sign up. There's actually no sign up. You just call yourself a Skrabinator. If you listen to the Skraby Show and you are a good person, you can call yourself a Skrabinator. All right, we're going to get serious for a second, because this was something that was very hard for one 49ers player. Charvarius Ward, or Mooney Ward is what they call him. He had a daughter. He's talking about some PTSD he has, and the PTSD he's endured from the death of his 1-year-old daughter. So unfortunately, that did happen. Charvarius Ward has been coming to work every day, you know, not probably feeling great at all about being at work. And here is what he told reporters. And I think that reporters, or I think that Charvarius Ward needs the I forgot the word now. Needs to be front and center for what he is saying here. So here's Charvarius Ward.
You know, I got a lot of trauma in California. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of great times, but you know, the worst thing that's ever happened to me, that's probably gonna ever happen to me, knock on wood, happened in California. You know what I'm saying? So it can just bring up bad memories. You know what I'm saying? Like every time I get on the plane and come back to California, Santa Clara, San Jose, and show up here, it's just bring up bad memories. You know what I'm saying? I go through that every day. You know what I'm saying? I go home every night by myself because, you know, my girl, she don't want to come back to California because of what happened. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard being alone, and you know, she's my strength right now. I need her, and so her not being able to be around me if I'm in California, it'll be tough. But you know, like I said, stuff can change. You know, I can get stronger, and probably get over that. You know what I mean? So I mean, we'll see.
Would you rather be in Dallas, Texas, you know, someplace where you're real close to?
I wouldn't just. I mean, honestly, yeah, I would love to be home, around close to my family. Being in the South, that would be amazing. But like I said, being with the 49ers again would be amazing. You know, if I'm able to overcome a lot of that trauma. You know, I get PTSD a lot. You know what I'm saying? I be throwing up. You know, waking up in the middle of the night all the time, sweating and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, it's tough. It's tough, but.
So that was Charvarius Ward, 49ers cornerback, and he was talking about the death of his daughter. And basically what he said was, you know, he's from Dallas apparently, and what he said was he has a hard time coming back to California because this is where all the bad stuff happened. And I know that there are some people that don't buy this at all and just say, get over it, you make millions of dollars. That's not what I'm going to do here. I want to praise him because a lot of people could just keep that to themselves And one of the things that he's doing here is he's telling everyone who's ever lost a child that it's okay to have PTSD. It's okay to feel terrible. It's okay to be this way after something terrible like that happens to you. And it really stuck with me when he said, I go home every night by myself because my girl, she doesn't want to come back to California because of what happened. It's hard being alone, and she's my strength right now. I need her. That hurt me to say and to hear, because she, obviously the mother of his child, who passed away at the age of 1, I can't even imagine what those feelings are. I really can't even begin to put myself in their place. And all year, Charvarius Ward had a bad year. And I don't care, honestly. I don't care that Charvarius Ward played bad because he had this on his mind. I really don't. As a 49er fan, and I will say this about every player, because I appreciate him for being so open and honest about this. And this is so hard for him that he may have to leave the 49ers to go find a place where he is better equipped to handle all of this. And if it's the Dallas Cowboys, you know what? Go to the Dallas Cowboys. And that's said with love, because it's what will make him feel better. I can't imagine being alone in a state that you're not from and not having your girlfriend or your wife or whoever who's your strong person with you going through this together. I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine having to go home every single night and be by yourself. That is a lonely place. Trust me. I have been there. Haven't lost a child, but I have been one of those people who goes home and is depressed and doesn't want to get out of bed. All of that. And if you're thinking, all right, well, he needs to lock in, which I don't think many people that are Scrabinators and listening right now are of that opinion. But have you ever gone to work with something else on your mind and just felt like you're on autopilot? Because some days, hasn't happened in a while, because thankfully, knock on wood, nothing really terrible's happened to me. But I've been there where you're just kind of, you're there, but you're not there at all, because something is always in the back of your mind. Everything reminds you of what you're thinking about. And I'm sure that he's probably, and I can't put this in his head, but I'm sure that some point during the season, he sat on the sideline in between, going back out in the field. And even though he's looking at the iPad or the Surface, sorry, NFL, the Microsoft Surface, even if he's looking at that, in the back of his head, he could be thinking about his daughter and his girlfriend. And so I think that is commendable for Charvarius Ward to admit, because he's an NFL player. He's tough. And I'm kind of happy that we're at a point in society where these guys do feel comfortable enough to admit some of these things, because, again, he's a football player. And no one really thinks, he said that it's hard to come back to California. No one really thinks. I'm just going to take when they played the Dolphins, for example. They're in Miami. They have to fly back to California. Can you imagine that weighing on his mind? Can you imagine that weighing on your mind? Like, I'm going to play this game. We're going to stink anyway. We're going to lose to the Dolphins. And then I got to get on a plane and go back to the place where it causes me the most heartache. I would have to think that that's is something that you just can't shake. And I don't know how, I don't know when this happened, but it's recent. And so when people, it's just something that we need to be better about in society, of supporting these people that admit these things. They really do. Like when people decide they want to stop drinking, it's been described as putting your old self to death, which is what I did. It took me years to drive past certain places where bad things had happened because of my drinking. It took me years. I'm at 8 years now of not drinking, but it took me years to get to a point where I can drive down a street that I used to drive down all the time and not get the feeling of I need to go to my liquor store, because that was my street with my liquor store. And so after I stopped drinking and I started driving down that street, I realized real quick I need to find a new way, because all of my thoughts were on that liquor store. And, the bad things that happened, the things that I did that I was embarrassed about, I never wanted to go back to those places at all. Never want to go back to those places. And I'm not comparing myself to Charvarius Ward. I'm just trying to give an example of what has distracted me from everyday life in the past. It hasn't happened in a very long time, but on this show, this happened to me years ago in radio, one of my first radio jobs. But I had some terrible news from my family, and I had to leave work immediately because of that. And I, was supposed to return. I was obviously supposed to return the next day. I tried. My mind was just not there. And so I understand where Charvarius Ward is. I like him as a 49er, but if he needs to feel better and go somewhere else where it doesn't, where he can move on and not be weighed down by those memories, then I think that is truly something that he should do, because this is bigger than sports, everyone. It's bigger than sports.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
I know it's hard to go from something serious like that and go into the Daily Gripe, but I had a Daily Gripe and I replaced it with this Daily Gripe because I spend a lot of time in convenience stores, as you all know. I drive, I think like 75, 80 miles round trip a day. So I go get water, go get an energy drink, whatever, in the convenience store. Well, today I went to the convenience store and I was in line behind someone, and this person was chowing, like just crushing a chili dog. Crushing this chili dog. It looked so gross. But this guy is at the register trying to pay while he's shoving a chili dog in his mouth. He's taking forever. His hands are dirty because he has to, so he can't get his wallet out because his hands have chili all over him. But here's the thing that happens that was so disgusting to me. He dropped the chili dog on the counter. And then the chili dog and chili sprayed all over the counter, and then it fell on the floor, and there was chili all over the floor. And he was really apologetic. He was a really nice guy. I'm not saying he was stupid or anything like that, but he was really apologetic. But my daily gripe is, please don't eat a chili dog at the register. I had to go up to the register next, and I had to step around the chili, and then I saw all the chili on the whole counter, and it was disgusting, and it smelled disgusting, and we all know what chili looks like when it's spread around. I'm not gonna say it. Daily gripe: do not eat chili dogs at the front of the line in the register. Don't eat chili dogs in the convenience store, okay? Make sure you have some napkins when you're eating chili dogs. That's it. That's the Daily Gripe for today. Thank you to everybody for joining me today. Thanks to everybody for joining the station today. I went a little bit late, so we will join Bart Winkler, but Ben and Wood start at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Appreciate you all. I will be back with another Skraby Show tomorrow at 6 p.m. I will also be back for another Gwen and Chris at 2 p.m. tomorrow, so I'll talk to you all later.